Hello, everybody. This is the Young Entrepreneur's Bible, episode 7. My name is Eduardo Duran with my co host Mateo Del Aguila and our wonderful guest, Diego Corzo.
Hello, hello. Thank you for inviting me and very happy to be here.
Yeah, it's very, very good to meet you. So, I guess to start off, could you tell the audience little bit about who you are, what you do, and what you're all about?
Yeah, for sure. So, what do I do? I'll share a bit of where I am now,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
And then we can take it back too. But I am 32 years old. I am a realtor. I have a real estate team of about 8 agents. We sell around between 200 to 250 homes a year. And we've been the number one team in our Keller Williams office for the last 3 years. I'm also a real estate investor. I own around 62 doors around the United States. I started when I was 23, and I'm in four syndications right now as well. And I am the founder of Fi Investors, which is a brand where we help millennials, we help people that want to get started in real estate, not just millennials, but people overall, to help them become financially independent through real estate. I teach on how to get started investing, scaling their real estate portfolio, and then I'm part of two other companies. So yeah, so it's busy, productive, and I love it.
Wow, so you're a big dog. We can say that easily. How do you manage everything?
Calendar, schedule, delegation. That too is important.
Hmm.
You definitely need to have the right team to be able to get to a certain level, to make sure that things are running the way they're supposed to run.
Hmm.
And it is by no means perfect. And there's definitely a lot of things that I need to improve, that I'm improving. But it's awesome. It's awesome.
So, tell me a little bit more about your company, FI Investors. How did you come up with the idea?
Yeah.
Why is this problem so important to you?
Yeah. So financially independent, the reason why I call it FI investors, right, is because I'm a big believer that in order for you to become financially free, financially independent,
Hmm.
you first have to become that person,
Hmm.
and then you get it through time. A lot of people just want financially freedom like right away, but if we don't have the right mindset, if we don't have the right people in our lives, the right peer group, you will lose it, right? There is a reason why people that they win the lottery, right? They will lose it in a year or two, then they go bankrupt, or something happens to their health, or they get into drugs, depression, or whatever, right? It's because they're not equipped to be able to get that money. So with FI investors, we like to help them become that person first. And I have a list of like 6 keys that basically helps somebody become that person. And um, and that's what we teach, right? But so it's becoming that person, and then with enough time and taking the right actions, that's when you actually get it. And that's what happened with me, right? I went through buying my first home at 23, to becoming financially free at age 26, 27 through real estate. And what we teach here is there's a lot of people that are getting like that are collecting liabilities, right?
Hmm.
And we're like, hey, why don't you collect assets like houses that pay for your liabilities? It's just a change of mind, that I think that that's how I lived my life ever since I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was 20 or 21 years old. And uh, and now I'm seeing the results of it. So FI Investors is a mastermind group of we are about 80 members right now, and we help them achieve financial independence through real estate. And we have the conversations. I bring a millionaire. We have a millionaire case study every single month,
Hmm.
and we basically go on like, okay, how did you become a millionaire, but also the why behind it, right? So we talk a little about money, mindset, financial independence.
That's
That's
really
awesome.
important. Yeah.
That's awesome. I was going to ask how many people, but you answered that. I know you said there was 6 keys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if we have time to go into all of them,
Oh,
but
yeah.
which is the most important, or is there like a sequential order? And
Yes.
how did you divide, like how did you come up with those?
Yes. So let me share how I came up with that first. So when I was 23 years old, how old are you guys, by the way?
I just turned 22 a couple weeks ago.
I'm
Okay, cool.
22 as well.
22. Okay, cool. So imagine I graduated college when I was 22 years old, right? Um, I didn't share this earlier, but I am a DACA recipient and a dreamer, which basically means that I am undocumented. I couldn't work or drive till I was 22, and I can share more about what happened before that. But for as I'm explaining this part, so at the age of 22, I moved to Austin, Texas, after I graduated college from FSU in Florida. I started working here as a software developer for General Motors, and then I wanted to become a realtor because I wanted to invest in real estate. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything about real estate, but I wanted to become a realtor so that I can learn about the market. In that, I hear a podcast by a guy named Pat Hyben. He was getting interviewed. And I reached out to him on Twitter afterwards because he mentioned the power of a mastermind group. And I was like, hey, Pat, what is GoBundance? You mentioned it's a mastermind group. And he says, yes, it's for millionaires. And we talk about health, contribution, passive income, wealth. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want in. But at that point, I was 23 when I became a realtor, and I reached out to them, right? And I go on their website, fill out a form. I jump on a call with one of the other guys, and they said, Diego, tell us a little bit about yourself, blah, blah, blah. Then I get invited to an event. Then they said, Diego, you're going to be one of the only ones that's not a millionaire. We want you to come. It'll be in August in Colorado. I had no idea where I was going, but I said yes. And I found myself in a room. This was a couple of months later, in a room of 12 millionaires. And where you had to be a millionaire to be in that room. So everybody's sharing what their net worth was, what they do, how they got connected into the room. And this one guy is going, he's worth 40 million, another guy is 10, another guy is 5, and they come to me and I'm like, my name is Diego, I'm 23 years old, I'm a software developer and a realtor, and my net worth is $25,000. And yes, that laugh was exactly how it happened there. My net worth is $25,000. I own 2 properties, and I heard about this through Twitter, like through a podcast, and I reached out on Twitter, and they were like, who the heck let you in? Like, why are you here? So as I shared my story of being a dreamer, right? I told them, look, at age 15, found out I couldn't drive. I had these other challenges that we can get onto later. But I'm hungry. I know where I'm going. I have big goals. I just need the path. And they said, okay. After that weekend, they said, Diego, we want to help you. We want to help you become a millionaire. And you're going to be our first apprentice. We don't know where this is going, but you'll be in. So this mastermind group back then was a member 33. So 33 millionaires by the time that except for me, that were in that group. Now there's 800 in that group. So that has grown a lot. But what happened was that I became a fly on a wall, and they became my mentors. And my whole life changed after that event. 2 weeks later, I was flying on one of the guy's private plane. He was picking up his friends, and my mind was blown, right? Like, because of my DACA stuff, I couldn't work or drive till 22. I was riding a bike. At 23, I meet these guys, and then I'm on private planes. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So for the last 6 years, because this was in 2014, for the last now 9, I guess, I've been a fly on the wall, learning, listening to their conversations, things that I was hearing on private, like in rooms with like 50 millionaires, 200 millionaires, in the private planes, in the cars. I was just a sponge. And then I applied it. And everything that they told me to do, I did. If they said, Diego, go to a Tony Robbins event, I did. If they said, take a speaking class, I did. Do this, do that, do that. And because they saw that I was taking action, they wanted to continue to help me, right? So then I analyzed a lot of the things that um, of how they lead their lives, their businesses, everything. And I was able to chunk it down because I wanted to become a millionaire. I became a millionaire at 29, multi-millionaire by in my 30s. Um, but the main thing is that it is not something, the 6 keys to become financially free is not something that I read on a book, something that I saw on YouTube. It is things that has happened by me surrounding myself with 300 millionaires and like picking different things, right? So those 6 keys are: number one, managing your personal finances. You have to know how much money is coming in, how much money is coming out. Starting young in college, this is like the best thing when you can build those habits, because you know exactly like, okay, what are going to be my expenses moving forward after I graduate, and be able to control that, right? And then see what your budget is, and maybe see, okay, I'm paying for Hulu, Netflix, this or that, and there might be a time where you're not even like watching it, and you might, just because it's $10, you're like, I'll cancel it next month. And no, you should cancel it like now, right? Because you, at least you're aware of it. Number two is scheduling personal development. I'm a big believer that just because you finish college, right, or graduate high school, you need to continue to learn. You need to continue to read books. Personal development is really important so that it gets your mindset right. Your mindset is going to be the most important thing, because the obstacles on the path to financial independence, they're going to happen. If not, everybody would be able to become a millionaire or get financial independence, and it's a small number. Number three is understanding the power of your peer group. The standards of your conversations is what dictates your success in life. So, your peer group are the ones that are going to help you move forward, or they're going to be the ones that are going to stop you from achieving your goals, because they might put their own standard on you, right? If you're surrounding yourself, let's say, with a group of 5 entrepreneurs, five students, let's say here, right, that are all building companies, and you come in, more than likely you're gonna want to build a company too, because you're in those conversations, you're seeing their success, you're seeing their struggles, you're seeing everything. But like, oh, I want to do that. And if not, you're gonna step out, because you're like, yeah, I don't really vibe with those people because it's not something that I want, right? So for me, if I'm surrounding myself with millionaires and I'm taking action, it's just going to be a matter of time till I raise to that standard. And I'm living proof of that, of me not being able, my net worth at 25, and then getting to that point, right? Number four is goal setting, right? But with accountability. Accountability is the thing that's going to actually make it happen, so that you can achieve it. Because if not, you're going to create excuses. You can have goals, yes, but is that extra accountability that will help you? And that is by sharing it with accountability buddy, posting it on Instagram, doing whatever you need to do so that you're accountable to yourself. Number five, and this is important, increasing your income. Increasing your income by either a side hustle, starting a company, either working more at your job, right? Especially if you're hourly, like, just, you have to increase your income, and with that income, you save it, don't spend it, save it, so that you can do the last key, which is investing. But a lot of people just want to skip to part number 6, but if they don't master the first 5, they're gonna quit. It's hard, and because you're gonna bliss. Like, if you tell somebody, like, for example, right, you might say, hey, I want to get started in real estate, I'm 22 years old, 23, and you're like, oh, but maybe your family's like, you're too young to buy a house, you're too young to be doing this. And then you meet like Andres, who was on this podcast, right?
Yeah.
He called me randomly back in 2020 or 2019, and for him, for example, he set the standard for his friends, because now all of his friends are buying homes, all of his friends are house hacking, and so that's really cool to see, because at the end of the day is that standard. And investing, right? Because now a lot of his friends that are in their early 20s are buying homes, and it's a great way to get started in investing in real estate, to start that path to financial independence. And yeah, so those are the 6 keys that I learned, that I applied, and everything was thanks to me being like just learning and being a sponge and analyzing what has helped those guys become millionaires, become successful.
So I think something that's really interesting with your case and your story is
Hmm.
you were a software engineer at GM, which to many people is a very lucrative job. I
Hmm.
mean, software engineering, there's a lot of money in that, especially here in Austin. But what was it that made you, I guess, just not want to continue doing that? Can you hear me? Because my mic just cut out on mine.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, yeah. What was it that made you want to, not
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah. Number one, um, I realized that I didn't want to be in front of a computer 8 hours a day,
Hmm.
writing software or doing software. I could be in front of my computer, but I didn't want to be there writing code and doing websites all day. That's where that career was gonna go. I realized that there. Then I felt capped with the salary because I have like looking at my parents and everything. I have a really good work ethic, and I knew that there were coworkers of mine that would come in late, leave early, take a long lunch, and then they and I were making the same. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, this is like I want to get paid by the value that I'm gonna bring based on my work ethic, and then that's when I learned that being a realtor, of course, in sales, there's no cap.
Hmm.
You get paid. It's a blessing and also something that's hard, right? Because there's no cap, so you can work as much as you want. But if you're not disciplined, you can work as little too, and not make as much, right? So I chose that as a career, let's say, where I didn't have a cap. Um, and because of the fact that I wanted to invest in real estate, I knew that that's where I was sort of going, um, but a salary just wasn't for me.
What about your IT services company that you had? What made you decide to not continue doing that?
Yes, so there was a time because I couldn't work,
Hmm.
right? I couldn't work while I was in college. Um, so imagine that, like here, right? You get an internship,
Yeah.
and what happened with me is I was a freshman in college. I got an internship, um, and it was free.
Hmm.
And they said, and it was to do websites. And they said, Diego, in 6 months, you've done more than what some seniors do in a year. We want to hire you. And I was like, oh, heck yes. So I go through the hiring process, and I fill out the application, everything that they needed to do. Then they're like, Diego, everything's looking good. We just need your work authorization. And I was, okay. So I call my mom, and she's like, Diego, we don't have that. Right? So then I'm like, crap. I'm 19 years old. Can I drive? Can't get student loans or financial aid because of my lack of papers, right? Being undocumented. And now I can't even work. So I found a way. Resourcefulness is one of the things that like I don't give up. So I'm like, I'm gonna find a way. And in that, I found out that me with my status, I could create my own company,
Hmm.
right? So that's what I did. I created my a company, an LLC, that will then be the contracting company for Diego Corzo.
Hmm.
So companies, instead of hiring Diego, they will hire Punked IT Consulting, which was the name of the company, and then I'll get paid that way. What was cool about that is that that's how I was able to work and do websites for small businesses, accountants, restaurants, all sorts of small businesses, and be able to pay for college because that's basically what I had to do, and then I had to get creative in other ways to continue paying for college. I used to do study guides,
Hmm.
so the teacher will say, "Hey, if you know the answers to these 20 questions, if you know the answers to these 20 questions, you will get an A." So I would go home, take the test. I mean, study, write up the 20 like the answers to the 20 questions, memorize them, learn them, whatever. Take the exam, and then I set the curve. I got the A. So then for exam number 2, the teacher says the same thing. If you know these 20 questions, you'll be good. So then I reach out to all the students, and I'm like, "Hey guys, I was the one who set the curve. I was the one that like I basically created a study guide for me. I'll sell it to you guys for $5." and there were 200 students or 300 students in the class. So I made like around $300 for exam number 2, and then I raised prices because I was like, all right, if they got A's or if they got good grades, supply and demand, right? So then I raised the prices to $10, and yeah, so that's how I paid for some of the classes too, selling study guides, and so working through my IT job, like my IT company, and selling study guides.
That's awesome. That resourcefulness, I think, is. I'm sure you're still resourceful now, and that's kind of something you learned from, smaller things like selling a study guide all the way up to maybe the financing on some of the syndication deals you have or whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get into your transition from, you have a very good job that most people would be very content with, and you've expressed that you wanted more out of life and that you felt that you were bringing more value and you wanted that proportionality. How did you put your 2 weeks in? Did you already have a plan after? Did you already have your license sponsored somewhere? What was that?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of our viewers that might be a little bit older, like 2 or 3 years into their career, and be wanting to, potentially make a shift like that into something more entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things that stops them is they want to make sure that the next step is like fully safe, fully planned out. What was your process in like shifting from, stable, safe salary to potentially a lot more, but there's no ceiling, there's no floor either.
Exactly.
So how did you mitigate that risk, and what was, maybe how much did you have saved up? Were you able to like cover living expenses? What was your thought process?
Yes. So I would say quitting your job is risky. Like doing anything is like there's risk, right? But I don't call it risky. For me, it was a calculated risk. Why? Because of the fact that by this time, so now we're talking, I quit my job in August of 2015. What happened was that by that time, I already owned 2 properties, and I was also house hacking. House hacking means that I bought a home. I bought a 4-bedroom home in Pflugerville with 4 rooms, and I was living in the master. It cost me less than $10,000 to buy this house. So I bought it when I was 24. I was living with roommates. My mortgage was $1,350, and I was collecting $550 per room. So I had an additional $350. Some were for expenses. Others, the rest went to pay for my car. So remember that I couldn't qualify for student loans or financial aid, so I had to pay all of that myself. I didn't have credit card debt either. So since 24, I've been living for free, and my car payments have been getting paid by other people. So which means that like calculated risk is that I was making $5,000 at GM a month. My salary was like $60,000, and back in 2013. But yeah, it was part of the college grad program. Like you're starting at this salary, and then later they'll bump you up. So making $5,000 a month, and so with that, I remember because of the investments that I've made, when I left, I think I had like $5,000 or $10,000 saved in my bank account. But here's the thing, and this is something that for people that are thinking about quitting or whatever, the reason why it was also calculated was because not only did I decrease my expenses, right? Where like if I only made $2,000 a month, I was fine because it was only me, and I'm living for free, right? Now the key thing too is that by that time, side hustle, right? My side hustle, as I mentioned, the 6 keys, was being a realtor. So I knew that and this goes for anybody too, it's like if you're in a side hustle and you are making, what happened with me was that I was closing one home every 45 days to 60 days. And this was part-time. Mm-hmm. So I was showing homes, meeting clients and everything in my lunch hour, nights and weekends. I was putting in like 14, 16-hour days at that time. And but it was because I knew that I wanted to quit at some point, right? So I knew that if I could sell one home every 45 to 60 days, and me having a full-time job, this means that if I was working full-time on the realtor stuff, as a realtor, I will be able to hopefully sell one home a month. And one home a month at that time would replace my salary at GM. So I knew that that was the game plan. I'm closing one every 60 days or 45 days. If I can put 100% of my time on there, I will be at one home a month. Back in 2021, I was closing 5 a month. So no, between 4 and 5. And so that's the reason why I call it a calculated risk. But then what happened was I quit in September. Like I put in my 2 weeks notice in August. August 31st was my last day. September, I made $900 as a realtor. And I was like, oh, crap. I was going to say, oh, shit, but I don't know. Whatever. I said, yeah. My reaction was like, I saw $900 and I was like, oh, shit. And I was like, okay. But I knew that in the long term, this was going to be good. And then October, I had closings, November, December, and then boom, it just went from there after that. So yeah, that's what happened. But it's important for people to know that if you're covering, maybe for people to set their milestones, it's like, okay, if I can cover 50% of whatever that number is, for you to quit your job, doing it part-time, then quit there, right? Because a lot of people would quit and then start from zero. I don't recommend that either. You should at least have some kind of cash flow coming in so that you're not desperate. Because sometimes if you're desperate, you make desperate decisions. You get anxiety or other stuff. And like you don't want to be acting from that point, because especially in sales or something, people can feel that too. When you're like, oh, I need to make this sale. Mm-hmm. Right? Yep. Rather than coming from like, look, I don't need the money. I'm doing it because I love it. That's a different thing. And that's where I wanted to be.
So were you part of the masterminds group at this point yet or no?
Yes, okay. Yes. So what's cool about that is that me being part of GoBundance, which is that mastermind group, is like success leaves clues, mm-hmm. right? And I'm like, so they held me accountable. And they were like, always like, hey, Diego, when are you going to quit? When are you going to quit? When are you going to quit? And I'm like, okay, I need to set that game plan. So I set that goal. I did this. They held me accountable. But what happened was, is like, because of the fact that I was surrounding myself with those millionaires, is like things that may have taken them 10 years, it can take me 5, mm-hmm. right? And that's basically what happened. They were there every step of the way.
It's good that awesome. You had that accountability partner.
Yeah. And, you know, you've expressed a lot of gratitude to being accepted into that GoBundance group, and that mm-hmm. kind of trampolined you and foreshortened the timeline of everything. And now you have your own form of giving back, that mentorship.
Yes.
At what point did you feel like, okay, I'm established enough to where now I can give this back? Because I think you really can't be a mentor like right off the bat. Like mm-hmm. even you don't know anything. But yeah. At what point do you think you reach that critical threshold of like, I'm prepared enough, or I think I know enough to where I can show somebody else to duplicate the steps that I've made? And when did you start this, or when did you feel like I want to become a mentor for somebody else the same way I had one?
Yeah. I would say it all started, like the main thing when I was like, okay, I'm ready to like teach and all of that stuff, was when I shared my story on the Bigger Pockets podcast. Mm-hmm. When I did that, that was when I knew that it was time, because I had so many people that had reached out. Prior to that, though, because of the fact that I'm DACA and everything, me being undocumented and having that as one of the challenges, I couldn't. The Trump administration tried to take away DACA in 2017. And I did something. I came out basically on social media, on my Facebook, and I posted a picture of the taxes that I paid in 2016. It was like over $28,000. And that post went a little bit viral. And that post going a little bit viral, I had a lot of people that reached out and were like, holy crap, Diego. Because I mentioned, look, I am not taking away jobs from other Americans. I'm actually creating jobs. I am paying taxes. I am an asset to this country, instead of what they were saying, that we were taking away jobs from Americans and all this other stuff. So when that post goes viral, I got a lot of people that reached out. And then I was like, oh, okay. Like, I can help you. I can help you do this, because I was 26 or 27 at the time and I had 8 properties already. So so that's when people started to reach out. But it wasn't until the Bigger Pockets podcast that at that point I was like, okay, let's make it happen. And that's when me being a real estate coach and everything started, with coming from not just investing in real estate, but like the why of real estate, um, so that you can achieve financial independence. But why do you want it? Because once you reach there, you're like, hey, are you doing it because you love it, or are you doing it because um, like it depends what the goals are, right? But having that mindset of financial independence definitely was the thing that I wanted to teach.
Cool. What is your goal? What's your uh, I know you said like what's the reason of getting financial independence? What's
Your why?
your why? Now that you've been
Yes.
there, why do you? I mean, you could probably retire now and just kind of not do any, get out of your situations. But
Yeah.
why do you keep working? I've a lot of wealthy people say like after a certain point,
Hmm.
your once your basic needs are met and you can have a good life. Why do you continue to work and continue to do what you do?
Yeah. Well, one of the things is like now I'm up to the point because before I was saying yes to a lot of different things. Before I was saying yes to this, yes to that, and that is what actually helped me a lot, to get to know different people, to get to know different strategies, to make connections. But now I'm at the point where like I'm saying no to a lot more things, and like I've gotten the privilege, quote unquote, to say no, um, and then now I get to do the things that I'm passionate about, the things that fulfills me, um, and um, and I feel like being at the level like I get to do what I want to do, right? So for me, being able to have that freedom, like financial freedom, gives me the ability to focus on those things,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not doing it like if there's opportunity for me to make more money, but it's gonna feel heavy on me, then I don't have to. I don't need to, right? If there's opportunities, to make more here or make less there, but this one fulfills me, I'm gonna do this one. Yeah, so I've gotten to that point now, um, and for me, it's good. For me, it's good. I mean, I'm entering that stage right now, of transition, from different companies, and that now I'm just gonna be focusing on FI investors and my realtor business.
It's awesome.
So,
Hmm.
what advice would you have for other kids who like might have found themselves in a similar situation to you, where they have just come to this country,
Hmm.
they know nothing about America or the U.S., and they're just kind of trying to make a life? Because I'm from Houston, and
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of illegal immigrants in Houston, a lot of
Hmm.
undocumented people there, and I've seen plenty of them um, do great, and I've also seen a lot of them not do so well.
Hmm.
So, what would you tell them?
Yeah. Well, I would say number one, you're in like, yes, there are obstacles,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yes, there's gonna be challenges. One of the things that that my mom will tell me when we were kids, because I came from Peru when I was 9 years old, and my mom will tell me, "Hey, Diego," and like she will tell me and my brother, "You guys can do anything that you guys want in this country. There's so many opportunities. You just have to work a little bit harder because of our situation." So that was always ingrained in me. It's like, hey, we just have to work a little bit harder and we'll make it happen. Work a little bit harder because I had challenges that my friends didn't have,
Mm-hmm.
right? I had friends that they just apply for college and they were like, yeah, you qualify for this financial aid and this grant and all of this. And like, I didn't have that. I got denied from scholarships. I got denied everything, even though I graduated third in my high school class. Um, I got denied of many different things. So I just knew like because of that, I knew um, that I just had to work a little bit harder. The other thing is, and that's okay, because like those are the cards that were dealt, and we can either be a victim to
Mm-hmm.
our situation or we can be empowered. And I chose feeling that I chose the empowered mentality rather than the victim mentality. Because then we're like, oh no, this is too hard. I cannot do this. No, I'm like, okay, what are my choices? Like, why is this happening for me rather than to me? When I had that mindset shift, then it became more of me looking for solutions, right? So what I would tell those kids or young teens, young adults that are in those situations, definitely get an education, high school for sure, college, yes, but it's not necessary. Learn a skill where you can sell. So read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, read Think and Grow Rich, learn how to sell, have a marketable skill that you get paid by fixing a problem. If you get paid by fixing a problem, you're good to go, right? Because then now you can go to the masses. So get a skill, because here's the thing: if you know how to sell, or if you know how to market something, those are skills that you do not need a college degree, right? And for some undocumented people, they might say, "Hey, I don't have the money to go to college." So, so I would say learn how to sell. Know that you might have to work a little bit harder, but the key thing is, here in America, if you put in the work, you get rewarded, right? Jim Rohn has a quote that says, "You get paid by the value that you bring to the marketplace." So become that better person, right? I would say those things. I would say focus in your vision, not your current circumstances, so that your vision can pull you, right? And you have to have a strong why too. And when people come to the United States, they have a why, right? It's like they don't want to have that life in their other country. Maybe they want to bring their family over, or the why. Like for me, the why for me is my family. Like I want to show my parents that the sacrifice that they had to go through to come to the States, that it was totally worth it, because they had to learn a new language. Like I'm 32 now, and they came here when they were 33, I believe. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like starting a new language and all that stuff, that is hard. And starting from zero too. When we moved here, we came here with zero, and we moved into my aunt's house, and we lived in one of her rooms. We slept in a bunk bed for like 3 months. And yeah, we had a van that my dad bought. It was called El Tren Fantasma, because like we didn't know if it was gonna turn on, if it was going like for that day, if the windows were gonna come down, if the AC was gonna work, if the radio was gonna work. Sometimes a car will stall randomly on red lights. I remember my mom, like, she was saying, please, 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 that we don't get a yellow, like a yellow light or like a red light, because once that happen, we don't know if the car's gonna stall, right? So we went from that, like that's how we started. And yeah, so that those things at the end of the day is, you have to have a strong why, and my parents are my why. The other thing is for young people too, and this is for young investors. I would say don't focus on getting a home run deal in the beginning. Just get to first base. Getting to first base is very important, because it begins to give you, like, you get to get some experience. You get to network with the people, meet your team, the realtor, the lender, whatever it is. For anybody that does want to start investing, let's say, it's much better to get started getting to first base, so that then it becomes easier for you to get to those home runs.
And what would you say, I guess, to people that look down on, immigrants, or that think, oh, America's too full, like we shouldn't be bringing anybody else in?
Yeah.
I personally don't agree with that. I'm of the mindset of, like, when the first pilgrims came to the U.S., they were immigrants themselves, and I think for now us to be saying, like, oh, you can't be here or you can't come, and I understand that there's a process and there are undocumented immigrants, but I do think that we need to do a better job of cycling people through that process.
It's very inefficient.
Very.
Yeah.
I'm from a border town, El Paso, so I know I would take, when I was in high school, we'd take like field trips, or I guess, I don't know if I'd call them that, but like we would go and see like the detention facilities, and like it's just, I feel like people that don't live or don't come from that environment just have no idea. A lot of like they would actually bring other schools from like Chicago and from inland areas, and when they would come and see it, their jaw would be on the floor, because they get fed the narrative of like, oh, they just like, these immigrants are coming and stealing our jobs, and they're just freeloading off our country, when like if you just take a moment to actually look around, like almost there's some of the most hardworking people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, seeing the actual like children, like just hundreds of them cycling through used clothes to try to find something. They get something that's like an XL when they're medium, so they'll grow into it, and like it's kind of it's eye opening to see that. And I grew up around that, so I think what do you say about people who don't have any exposure?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ignorant people, and
Yeah.
I cannot get mad or get pissed at the situation, because when I shared my story in 2017, I had a lot of people that, like, I got the haters, right? Because when something goes viral, you get people that support you and some haters. And so I had friends from high school that I haven't spoken to, let's say, in like years, like 7, 10 years. And they were like, Diego, I didn't know this about you. How are you not like telling people to F off on the comments? And I was like, well, it's because I'm here to educate. Like they are ignorant people, right? And even like Jeff Sessions, when he tried to terminate DACA, these were his exact words. He says DACA denied jobs for hundreds of thousands of Americans by allowing those same jobs to go to illegal aliens, right? And I'm like, no, we did not deny jobs to Americans, is we earned the jobs. If they are competing against me, you put me against them, and whoever is going to be the best that employer or whatever is going to see is going to get it, right? We're the number one team in Keller Williams in our office. We're all Latinos, and we've earned it, right? It's not like, and here's the thing, it's like we don't even pay for marketing. We earned it through the referrals, right? So if you come with that and tell me to like compare myself to another team or whatever, or like another realtor, you put us there and you choose the best one that's going to be working for you, and base it on experience, base it on whatever, right? So that's why I don't think that we are denying jobs for Americans. I'm like, if you want to go at it, go for it, right? And that's one of the things I think that has fueled me a little bit too, because I'm like not trying to prove myself, but in a way, is like, bro, find a millennial, because like whenever the DACA stuff happened, and the gringos or whatever, right? The Americans would be like hating on me. I would be like, okay, find me somebody my age that has accomplished what I have accomplished, that very common. And if they don't, I'd be like, why not? It's like, because this is hard, and some people are not willing to put in the hard work. I'm from the perspective, if you're willing to put the hard work, if you're willing to get that experience, if you're willing to sacrifice other things, like I'm like, we get paid the value that we bring to the marketplace. So I would say educating those people, letting them know that we're here, hard workers, we are an asset to the community, we are paying taxes, right? Like shoot, in 2021, I paid $160,000 in taxes, right? 160,000. So yeah, I mean, if they're telling me no, you're not paying taxes, I'm undocumented, I'm like, cool. Do you know other people that are paying the same or more than I do in taxes when I'm employing jobs and everything? I'm like, come on me, bro, type of mentality, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that is one of the things that has fueled me too, of like letting them know that, hey, I am not here as a freeloader, right? And doing those things has actually helped me a lot too, in being more, has given me the doors to share my story a little bit more and to inspire others, other dreamers, other immigrants. I was just on, so when my story went a little bit viral, I got a call from a nonprofit, that they flew me out to DC. So in November of last year, I was outside the Senate floor area, with Chuck Schumer, Dick Durbin, and they chose me out of the 800,000 dreamers to give a speech right there with them. So yeah, it's been a crazy roller coaster ride with everything going on, but it's been worth it. It's been worth it. And we don't know, as the DACA, like when they say like the immigration system is broken, it is broken. And my hopes is that it gets fixed soon. But it's, yeah, I mean, when you get involved in politics, there's so many different things, one with the other. What type of the, like, on the, because I've met with congressmen from Republican side, from the Democrat side, and yeah. So my hopes is that there's something that can be done, but educating the American people is what I believe needs to happen a little bit more, to let them know that we're not just here as freeloaders, that we're here contributing.
It's awesome. Is the situation of your I guess status, is that stabilized, or is that could that change? I'm honestly not.
Yeah,
I'm not very well versed on.
So right now, I have to renew my papers every 2 years. So every 2 years, I get a new work permit. I get a new driver's license. There is no path for us right now to become citizens.
Wow.
Throughout that process. So that's why Congress is trying to that's why everybody's putting, hey, go to Congress. Like, Congress has to be pushed so that they can turn it into a law. Once it becomes a law, that there can be a path for us, like, hey, after you've been here in the program for 10 years or whatever it is, then you can qualify for a green card, and then years later for a citizenship. I just want to be able to leave the country at any time, right? That will be ideal. I haven't been able to travel or anything in the last, because if I leave the country, I can come back in for 10 years.
Wow.
So you haven't left the country?
I haven't left. I haven't gone back to Peru in 23 years.
And like you said, there's not even an option for you to
Become a citizen right now?
The only option is for me to get married.
Oh,
Yeah, to an American.
That's
Arreglar
ridiculous.
papeles.
Arreglar papeles, exactly,
That's
right?
what my dad,
Yes.
my mom.
Yeah, so that
The
will be the
classic.
only thing. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So yeah,
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's
yeah.
wow. Do you think, how is the you've been in the States for a long time now?
Yeah. 23 years.
How has how do you think the environment has changed in terms of the general public's look on immigrants and people who come into the country?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's gotten more amicable, more harsh, or does it vary with who's in charge of presidency and all that?
I would say is who's in charge in the
It
presidency.
it swung back and forth.
Yes, it swings back and forth, and I feel like, and not to get political, right? But I feel like the rhetoric that certain administrations have is what plays a role on how people are seeing things, right? If they think that we're here stealing their jobs, and that's what you hear on Fox News, let's say, every day, you're going to come out and be like, oh, these people are stealing our jobs, right? And it's like, no, we're not here to steal. Like, you can qualify for that same job too if they just hire you, right? And there's other jobs that immigrants do that even Americans wouldn't even want to have.
Yeah.
Right? So it's
real.
like, quit complaining, and if you want to, go for it. Apply for it, right? If you really want to. So
a big point.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's others that, hey, we have more experience than Americans, so we're gonna get those jobs too. But I feel like the rhetoric is very important, because that is what influences people. That's what influences, especially seeing social media and ads there and everything, and what type of videos they're sharing. Yeah, social media on that aspect is it can go both ways. It's awesome, but it also creates a level of views that it can blame other people, right? And it's like then they're using us, the immigrants, as a scapegoat for their problems.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm young, right? I'm only 22, but I just feel like our country is so divided right now.
It
On
is.
all aspects of everything, and I just hope things will get better, but sometimes it can be kind of hard to see the bright side of things when it's just so negative right now for everybody.
Yes, and I feel like at the end of the day, it's if we just focus, a lot of people a lot of people are majoring on minor things, like they just focus on these things, and I'm like, okay, why don't you just focus on being productive instead of focusing on that stuff, right? I feel like if people were more productive with their time, there wouldn't be that type of like hatred or anything, because they will be trying to move forward as a society instead of like blaming other people for their current situation. Be like, oh, we're like this because of them. And it's like, no, that's not true.
People are bored because they're not working enough.
Yes. Well, and it doesn't have to be work. It's like being productive,
Yeah.
right? At the end of the day, if you're on your phone, freaking like 4 hours a day,
More.
and you're seeing, right, and then
Twice that.
and all you're seeing is like hatred on different things because of the ads, because of what you see, right? Because that's the way social media works. It's like the algorithm also is just fueling everything. So whether you see Fox News or you see CNN, you're getting from both angles, and it's just fueling the rhetoric that you want to believe, right? Too. So yeah, which is hard, but you have to be very wise on who you're listening to and make decisions on your own rather than just what the TV is saying.
I kind of want to pivot from, you mentioned being productive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've clearly have a lot of things going on. And I know you mentioned, we started off with like, how do you do all of that? And you said calendar and have a schedule and all that. And delegation, just for the audience, what does a typical day look like for you? Like when you what time do you wake up? Do you have breakfast right away? Do you have a routine in the morning, or what does that kind of look like for you?
So usually, for example, usually wake up around 6 o'clock, do a workout. For sure, I try to work out 4 to 5 times a week. Either go on runs or at the gym. So when I go on runs, that's like my morning time where like I think and different ideas may come up for the day. Then one of the things that I do is I do a checklist of the things that I want to accomplish, and I usually have something that I call the big three. So the big three things that I need to make sure I hit for that day, and then my to-do list becomes then there's other things. Of course, my to-do list can be a lot, but I need to make sure that I hit those three things. If I do, then I know that it's been a great day, right? Usually right now it can be I'm being on meetings, I'm coaching people too. Right now I have 4 coaching clients one-on-one, which has been pretty cool, seeing their successes and all that stuff. The other thing is then I'm usually on calls a lot, if that, and or when I'm working on the realtor side, I'm showing homes, talking to potential clients, analyzing some deals for them and stuff like that. Showing homes has been one of the things that also can take a lot of my time, but it's something that I enjoy.
Nice.
Yeah. Then what else? I mean, for lunch is usually like I usually eat out during lunch if I'm on the go. Depending on the time and stuff like that, I do like cook at home for the week. Or
Peruvian food?
No, I wish.
No,
it's just like straight up chicken and veggies. Yeah, chicken and veggies or rice. Yeah, just to keep it simple. But then I do try to build connections, right? So I'm out for lunch with different people, either past clients or stuff like that, co-workers from the realtor side. And but I try to have as many conversations as I can on the networking side, stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. So I guess I have one last question.
Yeah.
I heard in your story, and one thing that really stood out to me was you weren't able to get a license for a while, so you were constantly using your bike to go everywhere. When you were finally able to, what car did you get, and or what kind of car do you drive now? Did you get something nice, or you just went with the basic Honda Civic?
Yeah. So it's funny. When I moved to Austin, right? I graduated from Florida State, and I was supposed to have my DACA stuff already. Have my license and everything so that I could even work. But it didn't come on time. So I convinced my buddy to basically drive me from, because he was driving to Denver. I was like, bro, what if we end, because he is my best friend from high school and college and everything. And I was like, yo, wouldn't it be great if we go into adulthood, you go to Denver, I go to Austin, but like you just drive, because he drove me everywhere in high school and college. So I was like, let's just finish this drive and you drive me to Austin. And he was like, all right, let's do it. So he helped me move to Austin. We stopped at a Walmart. I got a bike, and then that was my mode of transportation until about June here in Austin, until about June of 2013. So for like 3-4 months, I moved here in January, so it wasn't until June that I got my car. And even though I was working for General Motors and everything, I got a 2009. So that was in 2013. I got a 2009 Honda Civic.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
so
love
my
it.
car payments were 228, and that's why I remember my car payments 228, and I was like, man, with my house hack, living for free, and that extra $300 a month, that's gonna pay for my for my car. And yeah, I didn't. One of my mentors, Adam Carroll, he has a quote that said, the new car smell wears off, the car payments don't.
Yeah.
When you get a new car, right?
Absolutely.
And I feel like we've been ingrained, a lot of people are ingrained, that you should get a new car every 2 years or something like that, right? I was like, no, I'm gonna get a used car. And even though I was working for GM, I ended up going for like the safe route for me, that I knew like a Honda Civic was gonna be good for me. So I got a used Honda Civic, and then from there I went from a Honda Civic to a Honda Accord, and then now I drive a Tesla. Yeah,
Alright.
I did buy a brand new Tesla, which is awesome. And
You deserve it now.
Yeah, you can
That I
spoil
deserve.
it
You've
yourself.
earned it.
yes, yes, I got yes, I earned that Tesla now, and it drives itself on the highways and everything, and I
Don't trust it too much.
and I love it. I love, yeah, right, yes. But now I like, there's been times where, like, because I'm on my phone a lot too, like either talking to clients or whatever. So in talking with clients and stuff, or like texting, responding to emails, there are times that I've written offers. Well,
While
on the
drive-
car, because
while
the
the
car
Tesla's
just driving
driving.
itself,
awesome.
which is awesome. Of course, I have to, yeah, like, yeah, like it's there. I'm there driving it, but I can be on my computer and I feel okay. But yeah, but that's one of the best things that I've been able to buy. But it was also a tax strategy too.
Right off.
Because I was able to write off $18,000
You
the
drive a
first
lot,
year.
right?
Yeah. So I bought it as a realtor. So I'm constantly like, I can go from Kyle to Leander in one day, like just showing homes, for example. So the car became a write-off. So I was able to depreciate $18,000 and not have to pay taxes on that. So that was pretty cool.
It's awesome. I think the time we're getting ready to wrap up. I think there's a quote that my dad always tells me that I think embodies your story, and it's in Spanish, but it's no seas producto de tus circunstancias, sino tus decisiones. And I think,
Exactly.
like, for the English speakers, don't be a product of your circumstance, be a product of your own decisions. And I think you've taken, you had a harder path, and you still are at a higher point than a lot of people. And it's because of your decisions, and you had disadvantaged circumstances, but that doesn't matter. If you make the right choices, you can end up where you want to be.
100%.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, and for the audience or anybody that wants to reach out,
Yes.
they can definitely reach out to Real Diego Corzo on Instagram if you have any questions, or go to thefiinvestors.com, or send me an email, info@diegocorzo.com.
And that is FI Investors.
FI Investors.
Thank you, Diego.
Of course.
Bye, guys.
Signing out.